Hey guys, we've been talking about AI, we've talked about its impact on economy, employment, but actually, if you come back to it, we're the whole thing, the whole discussion started with my own startup. It's called part of ed tech, educational technology, but actually, if you having a broader perspective, it's really about human resources assessment and selections. So you might startup is less about improve, raising your GPAs. How do you prepare for SAT and ACTs? That kind of stuff is more about how do you prepare yourself to be admitted by college. But also we casted a wider net in the sense that we also look at the allow people doing their job to prepare for their next job. So anything related, it's called a college diary. It's because a lot of things are related to college. For example, high school student to the high school to college, and community college to full college, college to employment, and high school kids to full-time job, skipping college. So this thing, everything we can be used on the college diary. We'll talk about this later, but let's start with the current situation. Why bother? Why do we need to have a different games to be played by stuff like college dairy? It's because the historically, especially after pandemics, we have a significant um, inequality in terms of access to college, in terms of access to employment. That has been a big problem. I was shocked when I was reading a few research report. One is from CNBC, and another is from a private app. Um, they give you a very convincing statistics to show that the inequality for in terms of access to college, it's big and it's real, and they're even getting bigger. Okay, so this is the problem that we want to basically level the playing field. Right now, the playing field is not level; it's far from level. We're not completely eliminated, right? Because that's a lot of things. We also, you have to think about it. The game is that we want to make every middle school families, their kids can help themselves in terms of having a more equivalent opportunity to get into, for example, Ivy League, right? We talk about the Ivy Plus, right? Original Ivy, the 8 schools, and then plus University of Chicago, plus MIT, and Duke and Stanford, right? So those kind of things that's what we so far right now. If you are from a top 1% of income families, your kids has more than twice the opportunity to get into Ivy Plus. That's so far the statistics, the report that the CNBC report is very good review and findings that in terms of admission to college, and in terms of the outcome, they actually Harvard and Brown University, they have a study to show that if you look at the income, the graduate student income, the people who graduate from Ivy League and Ivy Plus, their income is not significantly different from other like public school, for example. But of course, that's not the income is just one side of it. We have a better chance for you to get into a leadership position. You have a better chance to get into Ivy League graduate school, those kind of things. Okay, so the chances are, not in terms of income, but more in terms of. And on the other hand, you really have to think about that. The reason why the top 1% spending so much money, they just simply call it investment, which is true. They are investing into their next generations. And but then there's another meaning of it. In today's world, with AI getting popular and popular, although it's not popular. Popular may not be the right word because we quite a few people hate AI, right? Because it take away their job. But here, let's face the reality. One theory is this, especially for top 1% of the families. They like in New York, there are some admission consultant companies, several of them. They are mostly focused in New York City. And then remind me the Gossip Girl. They talk about this one too, but their clientele base is basically people at least make $1.5 million each year, and then they are willing to spend up to at least easily $500,000. Okay, and not even including that the assistance on the SAT and the ACT, those kind of things. It's just strictly strategic, how to prepare your kids to prepare the elite colleges based on elite college preference, right? That's why there's so many those people who were selective college. They were used to be when they were the admission officers. They ended up leaving the college and then join some admission consulting business and then make like you know a $250,000 easily, right? Inside of the school, they may not make that much, but once they join the consultant, they are the top paid uh, consultant, admission consultant. You may say that in the why bother, right? I mean, in the public school, we have like basically you have a school counselor, and you basically you don't pay them penny, you don't pay them one penny because they are paid by by their salary. That reason is simple because accessibility. You know, the latest statistics shows that we have a ratio of counselor to student. It's basically 405 student corresponding to one counselor. So you can tell that the attention that each student get, it's just basically ignorable. So that's why people, the families and the rich families, they're willing to spend that. Their theory is this: today's college, if you want to go to college, you don't have to, right? With the the a lot of white collar workers lost their job, and then college becomes more optional than ever. However, one theory, there's one guy I read from the CNBC report that says that the guy says, I mean, obviously he's the head of the admission consulting company. He's charging like $1,600 each hour. And he's less senior associate is charged like $925, but parents are still looking for him. But his theory, I think, is interesting. Again, this guy's in New York City. He was saying that you either go to life-changing college or don't bother. So top 20% or busted. So that's the theory that if you cannot get into elite college, you might as well not go into. Of course, that's just his opinion. You know, I'm sure that pretty much a lot of West Coast students are more like open to public illegal college. Like they have nothing related to Ivy League, but they are still good at school. That's why U.S. has a very strong education, and I'm sure they can still do that. But so this one come to the end. When we talk about this, you have to think about one realistic problem. how a middle class family can get their kids, you know, at an equal level, more or less leveling level, and so they can compare even without paying top grant, paying half a million, quarter million, even $800,000. How do we do that? Okay, so that way you have to figure out something that realistically that we can allow them to compete. Let's stop here.